sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Leur 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Tuesday, May 28. How's everyone doing? Brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group. Once again, recognized as one of Canada's top fleet employers for the fourth consecutive year. The prestigious accolade underscores their steadfast dedication to fostering a workplace of excellence and opportunity, much in part to their exceptional team. For their unwavering commitment and contribution, Energy Transportation Group is a top fleet employer. Also brought to you in part by Bittt, Tibi, brewed in Quebec, and whenever it does international awards, Bittt Tibi offers quality microbrewery beers made with premier ingredients for everyone's taste. Bittt Tibi, embrace your true nature. I will also get to Playground and Accent Insurance Solutions, as well as Souvlaki Alfonsique a little bit later on, and I'll talk to you about them because, as a matter of fact, I'm going to be somewhere on Thursday afternoon. Where am I going to be? I'm going to be at Souvlaki Authentique, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it in due time. Without further ado, though, I'd like to bring into the Sick Podcast from the Recruits Draftcast podcast and recruits.ca, former Montreal Canadiens scout of the Bob Gainey administration, Graham McCagg. What's going on?
Hey, Tony. Hey.
Whoa. Look at these shirts.
You like that or what?
Look at these shirts. Wow, I don't have a Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro shirt. What's going on? Look, the colors and everything, just like my background. Amazing. Really
You got to talk to Nick at Insta Customs there. Maybe he can get you fixed up.
I got to talk to Nick at Insta Customs. All right, I'll do that. All right, my man. How you doing?
I'm good. Good.
All right, okay.
Taking a little break from hockey there. All hockeyed out. I think I might only catch like the third period of tonight's game or something like that, you know?
Yeah, no, I hear you. And by the way, of course, in all transparency, once again, we're pre-recording the podcast before the game tonight because at 10 o'clock, everyone's still going to be watching the game. So, and Grant's going to be watching it too, and everyone will be watching it. So that's why we do that before the games during the playoffs. And if ever we do a show that's live, it's because it's a rare off night in the National Hockey League. All right, but we will continue to talk about Montreal Canadiens as we've always done. We go 12 months a year pretty much talking about the Habs, or at least a very little bit of some shows anyway. Most of the shows we always do, but some shows, we'll always get in a little something. And tonight we're going to get in a little something as well because, based on the year that was, Grant has come out with a new top 30 prospects for the Montreal Canadiens, of which I thought the top 10 was really interesting. And so you know what? Grant sent it over to me. And why don't we take a look at it? So put on the glasses.
Sounds good.
Habs top 30 prospects. We'll go with the top 10. Number 1, David Reinbacher. Number 2, Lane Hudson. Number 3, Oliver Kapanen. Number 4, Logan Mailloux. Number 5, Joshua Roy. Number 6, Jacob Fowler. Number 7, Owen Beck. Number 8, Adam Engstrom. Number 9, Philip Machar. Number 10, Jakub Dobish. I think it's safe to say that you have Kapanen ranked at a place where not a lot of people do. And that is 3 ahead of Mailloux, ahead of Roy, ahead of Fowler. I can understand the others, but I think look, you can make a case for Kapanen, who was absolutely outstanding, by the way, at the Worlds just recently. But this is interesting here. Talk to me about him.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't just at the Worlds. He tied for the league lead in playoff scoring in Liga, Finland, and then followed it up with just a superlative performance.
Yeah.
I guess I can't speak today at the Worlds. I mean, he led for most of the tournament. He led it in goal scoring till the last couple of games he got checked or whatever. But he was terrific. Played top 2 center role. They came darn close to beating Sweden in the quarterfinals. It went to overtime, and he played like he was their top center in the overtime 3-on-3. He played more than anybody else. Was relied upon heavily, but he's just such a smart two-way center. I honestly see second line. If it's not with the Canadiens, it's maybe with someone else down the line, but he has second line center upside in the NHL. And that's such a valuable piece, as you know, Tony.
Yeah.
Josh Waugh, maybe a first line winger. I think he's probably more destined to be a second line winger, but a good scoring one. But a two-way center with size that can do a bit of everything is just such a valuable commodity. It's close between him and Waugh as a top forward prospect for me, but because of the position he plays, because of his all-around game, and because of what he proved in not only League of Playoffs, but then the World Championships, and I liked him all year. I mean, I've had him as a top forward prospect with the Habs all year, and what he did at the end only solidified it for me.
Yeah, you're right. You have liked them all year, and you've kept us aware of the stats that he was putting up all year. But I think it's safe to say, like you just said, in the last couple of months, he's been in a very good moment.
Yeah, for sure. I think, the second half of the year he came on. I don't have the stats in front of me, but he was one of the top scorers in Finnish hockey in Liga in the second half of the year. And then he obviously continued that into the playoffs and then at the World Championships. So that's always important for me, what you do when the most important games of the year, because it's usually a reflection of what you'll see later on. Like Artie Lehkonen won the Liga MVP, the playoff before he came to the Canadiens. And what do you see from Lehkonen every year when the playoffs start? We saw it with Montreal. We see it with Colorado. He steps
up.
He does. He's just a playoff guy. And I think, there's a lot of Lehkonen in Kapanen's game. He's just so smart, away from the puck, anticipates the play. Just coaches are going to love him. I know Marty is going to love him. I suspect he'll come to camp. He's signed for 2 years with his dad in the SHL, Swedish Hockey League. But there's an out, as you know, with those leagues, and I suspect he'll come to camp. Like, people have been asking me, well, how come he hasn't signed yet? Well, Montreal's a little shy on contracts, and you don't have to. There's no time limit. He could play those 2 years in Sweden or 1 year, or he can come to camp, and if he makes the team, then you sign him then, right? Sign him to the NHL deal and keep him with the club to start the year. But would not surprise me if he does come over and does come to camp, that he ends up making the team out of camp.
And if he doesn't make the team, you would think that he's going to stay where he is. But give me the case as to why where he is over Laval.
Playing for his dad in Sweden?
Yeah.
Well, I guess gets to hang out with his dad for a couple more years, I guess.
Yeah, I guess ice time won't be a problem.
Yeah, they'll probably get on the top 2 lines, but I mean, the SHL is considered just one, maybe slot above the Finnish Hockey League. I think it's the best league outside of the NHL right now, but you can make an argument obviously for the AHL and KHL, but I think the SHL is as good or better than those leagues. So it's definitely better than the FHL, the Finnish league, I think. So if he doesn't make Montreal, go back, play under his dad for a couple of years, probably go back to the World Championships again. And if he plays anything like he did in the second half in the Finnish league in the SHL, he'll only be that much more prepared for the NHL when he does come over.
All right. Okay. Let's bring up the your list one more time, because there's a few things that I find really interesting in this list. Okay. Obviously, players' performances over the last little while are what are the game changer and everything here. But usually, top prospects, and usually, if logic prevails, you end up going with the players who obviously were drafted the closest to number one as possible. So this is no exception. The Canadiens, David Reinbacher, out of all the players that are on this top 10 list, Reinbacher is the one who went, closest to number one. He went number 5. Okay. Yeah. Lane Hutson went 62, if memory serves me well. In his draft year, I believe it was 62, right?
60, yeah. I don't know exactly. It was early 60s.
Let me bring it up if I can. Lane Hutson, 62. That is correct. Okay. Oliver Kapanen went 64 overall. I think Mailloux went 31st. Right now, Mailloux's draft, though, we'll all recall that because of what happened in his personal life and a very bad mistake for a young man. He said, you know what, I don't think I should be drafted. So there are teams that probably had him at 15, 16, 17, who knows, who said, all right, we're not going to draft this guy. He doesn't want to be drafted. Canadiens ended up drafting him at 31. So take a look at the way this list is, right? If he was, even at 31, he should be drafted before Hudson, before Kapanen. Now you got Roy, who's a 5th round pick. It's interesting. So talk to me about, for example, why Lane Hutson at 2 ahead of Logan Mailloux, who you have a number 4.
Yeah. Well, a couple years after Kucherov and Bergeron were picked in the 50s, Tony, they were safe to say they were best prospects in Tampa and Boston.
I think Patrice Bergeron was the best player selected in that very amazing 2003 draft. I don't know if you agree with that, but I think he's the best player to come out of that draft.
Oh, that'd be a great discussion. I don't know. He's certainly top 5, I think, when it's all said and done.
Yeah,
I have a soft spot for Getzlaf.
He
brought that extra size, grit.
Big right-handed centerman who could pick up a point per game and lead you to a Stanley Cup is hard to find.
I'd maybe lean towards him, but you can make the argument for a few guys. But just that's just 2 quick examples that came to mind when you were saying, Kapanen and Hudson being late 2nd round picks.
Yeah.
Shea Weber was a late 2nd round pick.
You're right. You're right.
I mean, I can, I can go on and on with that.
No, but never
Artie Lehkonen.
Yeah, so never mind the picks then. Let's go with this. Why Hudson over Mailloux? Plain and simple.
Just the way he dominated college hockey for 2 years as a freshman and a sophomore. Typically, guys that have done that, in the past decade, the 2 guys that were close to that as far as offensive dominance goes were Adam Fox and Cale Makar. And you saw the transition that they made to the NHL. So, and then Lane Hutson comes in and he starts out as a point per game, for his NHL career. Not quite in Ryan Paling's, universe where he, after his first quote unquote season, he was 3 points per game, but just the offensive upside is maybe one peg above Logan at this point. Obviously Mailloux has more tools when it comes to the defensive part of the game. Like if he puts it all together, he's probably going to be a better defensive player than Lane. But Lane is just so smart. He gets on the right side of the puck. He uses his leverage well. His intelligence is just so high that I think that he's gonna make it. He's gonna be a regular, play top 4 minutes on defense and run a power play. And that, as much as I like Mailloux, I think Hudson's the future power play quarterback. And as you see in the playoffs, Tony, every year, the power play and having somebody that can quarterback it is so important. It can be special teams that decide Stanley Cups when it comes down to it. So, I mean, it's close with all four of those guys. To be honest with you, at the top, you can interchange them and make an argument for any of them, I think.
Yeah.
But
speaking of power play, by the way, I came across a stat today.
Yeah.
Since 2014-15 season to the end of this season, where do you think the Canadiens rank in the National Hockey League? Power play percentage and ranking in the league out of 32 teams. So in the last decade, basically.
Yeah. I would think at the bottom, but
Dead last.
Yeah, okay.
32 of 32, 17%.
Well, it's time for that to change, right?
Dead last in the last decade, and hopefully it will change with, of course, Suzuki and Caulfield and Slavkovsky and Lane Hudson, and hopefully it will change. Pierre Maguire brought up, by the way, you probably saw this, but last night, or a couple of days ago, actually, with Jimmy Murphy on the Sick Podcast, the Eye Test, recommended the name Gerard Gallant as an assistant coach for the Montreal Canadiens. And so I had him on yesterday, and I asked him about it. And one of the main things that Pierre brought up was the power play. The last 3 years that Gerard was coaching in the National Hockey League, 2 years with the Rangers and a year with Vegas, his team had a power play that was 4th, 7th, 9th. Now, it doesn't mean it was him, and it could have been A, his assistant, and B, it could have been the talent that he had on his team.
Adam Fox and Shea Theodore quarterbacking as opposed to whoever Montreal had.
Yeah, that certainly helps. But besides the power play as well, there's a lot of experience there, right? We're talking about Gerard Gallant, who was the head coach of the New York Rangers for a couple of years, the Florida Panthers for a couple of years, the Vegas Golden Knights for a couple of years, an assistant for a couple of years with the Islanders, an assistant for a couple of years with Columbus, an assistant for a couple of years with the Canadiens, 2 or 3 years as head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. There's a plethora of experience there. There's a wealth of experience there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like Gerard Gallant a lot.
Yeah.
And if you could add him as an assistant coach, I would not. You can't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think Bears are right on the money. If you could bring in Gerard Gallant, I'd be all for it.
I spoke to Michel Therrien earlier today. I saw him at TV Sports as we're both part of JC's show, of course, weeknights between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. And I went on right before Michel was going on. And so we had a chance to talk during the break. And he was telling me how much he really enjoyed working with Gerard Gallant. Gerard Gallant was a Michel Therrien hire. He saw him at a couple of coaching seminars and just really liked his approach and the way he saw the game. And Therrien had really no relationship to Gallant and didn't know him very well, but just thought that, you know what, I like the work that this guy's done before Montreal, and I like what he brings, and approached him and hired him, and just thought he was a great assistant, by the way. He's got a lot of great things to say about Gerard Gallant, which is which is interesting. Yeah.
Oh, good maritime boy. You know, usually those guys are pretty salt of the earth. And no, I have all the time in the world for Gallant, and he'd be a great addition if you could convince him. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So anyway, let's move back on to let's bring up the chart again for your top 10 Montreal Canadian prospect list. Reinbacher at 1, Hudson 2, Kapanen 3, Mailloux 4, Joshua Roy 5, Jacob Fowler 6, Beck 7, Engstrom 8, Meshar 9, Dobish 10. There's stuff that we've heard about Fowler. We know that Pierre Maguire is the president of the Fowler fan club. If you listen to the guys from Spitting Chicklets, I think it's Whitney who said at one point that he saw a goalie that looked like Patrick Roy, Marty Brodeur, and Dominic Hasek all in one goalie type of thing. That sounded pretty amazing. He was talking about Jacob Fowler. There's a lot of people out there who believe that this is a goalie who could win a Stanley Cup one day. I guess the fact you have him at number 6, the jury's still out, or?
No, well, yeah, sure. He's had 1 year in college, and it was a very good one. But, goaltenders can have good years. They can follow it up with off years. I'm never too fast to. I've done it in the past. I had Caden Primo, I think, top 3, and then the next year, the next year,
a couple
after
of really good
struggled,
years at Northeastern, right?
and then turns pro, and then he flopped for a while, and he was about 15th on my list, and then back up. If there's one position where the prospects tend to yo-yo a fair bit, it's goalie. So, I've moved him up, I don't know, 5 spots. So it's not like I didn't.
That's a nice jump. I
didn't reward him for it. I still like, the 5 guys in front of him, Tony, are excellent prospects.
Really
right?
solid. Yeah. If Fowler wins the Frozen Four, is he 5?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe 4.
Yeah.
But
maybe 4.
I just got to prove yourself a little more than just one good season.
A shout out to Playground. Step into the excitement of Playground with the Mystery High Hand promotion every day starting at 10 a.m. You have a chance to win a share of over $120,000 in cash prizes available until May 31st, whether you play from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily or join the late night action from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. from Sunday to Thursday. You can win up to $25,000. For more details, visit playground.ca. Don't miss out. Swing by Playground and get in on the winning. Also, a shout out, of course, to Accent Insurance Solutions. Take down their website at axaassurance.com. You know, all insurance isn't created equal, and you know where to find the right solution for you. That's Accent Insurance. Accent doesn't sell insurance. They shop insurance for you to find the right product right on the money, whatever your insurance needs. Home, automobile, or business, call the Accent team at 514-363-3636 and get the right solution, at the right price. Once again, their website is at axaassurance.com. All right, back to that list again. Because that is, David Reinbacher at number 1. As you know what, you would think he would be with the 5th pick overall. It was an up and down season at Cloton in Switzerland, which was not easy, obviously, because I believe he had 3 coaches. He comes to Laval down the stretch. You see him with the Rocket. What have you seen? What are the attributes that you've seen that for you have slam dunk written all over it?
Yeah, well, he's going to be a top 4 defenseman, I think, all day. We can safely say that. It's just where it's his offensive upside that I think we still have to get a better handle on. But he was an 18-year-old kid playing in a pro league, and then he came over turned 19, comes over to the AHL, and had a couple of nice moments offensively. So you see some potential there, but it's hard to project because so young, playing pro hockey, you're not going to see the full potential. Like you look at I compare him a bit to Edvinsson, who was a 5th or 6th overall pick of Detroit a couple of years back.
Mm-hmm.
He's still trying to find his offensive game. At the AHL level.
Yeah.
It takes time. It's not just a jump in and you're, especially at that age, like Logan Mailloux is a little older, right? So he stepped in and he was able to produce pretty well. But even he took a couple of months before he really started to find his production at the AHL level. So next year we'll get a better idea of, I think, just how much offensive potential Reinbacher has, because I know in talking to Nick Bobrov a couple times in the past and hearing him talk about it, he brings up the name Roman Josi often enough where you didn't necessarily see the production from him at the same age, and you didn't know how much he would develop as an offensive defenseman, but then we've seen what he's done the last 5 years or so in Nashville, where he became one of the elite point getters in the league. Now, do I think Reinbacher has that much offensive potential? I don't think that at this moment, but I wouldn't put it past him becoming a highly productive NHL defenseman. And then I think we already have seen and know just how good he can be defensively. Like his range is amazing. He covers a pile of ice, defends well. He's gonna be a great skating, physical, almost impossible to beat one-on-one type defenseman. And that, especially at playoff time, is just so valuable. He'll be a big minute muncher for the Canadiens down the road. And hopefully when they're a playoff team, he'll be one of those top 4 guys that plays 20 to 25 minutes a game.
Yeah. Engstrom, I saw him at development camp. I really liked him a lot. You see somebody and you say, okay, he's an NHLer.
Pro.
Like he had that effect on me right away, you know?
Well, we sat there watching him, right, Tony? And
yeah,
he just looked like a pro. He looked just as Reinbacher does. Looks mature beyond his years. Engstrom looked like he was ready to step into the AHL and be on the top pairing. That's what he looked like, I thought, at the development camp. So next year, I don't know if Hull's come. There's talk that he might be re-signed, and I don't know. I guess it's not completely confirmed yet, but he's going to have a lot of fun next year if he's back as coach with that young group. There's going to be so much promising talent in Laval on defense. Especially if Reinbacher, Engstrom, and Mailloux are there.
Mm-hmm.
Like William Trudeau, who we both like quite a bit.
Yeah.
We had a good chat with him about him when we went to that Laval game too, where he stood out. Mm-hmm. He's not even in the top 10 here, right?
Yeah.
And he's a heck of a defense prospect too, and still only 21 or just turned 22 or something like that. So the future is just it's too bad that some of these guys are going to have to be moved because they're all good kids and they all have NHL potential.
This Thursday, I will be at Souvlaki Authentique, family-operated Greek restaurant, 7 locations. They use fresh Quebec chicken and fresh Quebec pork. Both are hand-cut, marinated in-house. Their gyro is hand-stacked in-house, never frozen, no MSG in any of the recipes. Greek potatoes, not your Yaya's Greek potatoes, unique lemon sauce. You're absolutely going to love it. And, of course, it's going to be in Lachine on Rue Notre-Dame at 1050 Rue Notre-Dame. So we are going to record the Sick Podcast. It's actually kind of going to be live at 1 p.m., but it'll be recorded. And we're going to upload it and play it for you later on at 10 p.m. So you'll be able to see us live doing our thing, but it'll be uploaded at 10 p.m. And by the way, I can announce right now that Eric Engels of Sportsnet and Sportsnet.ca will be joining me this Thursday, May 30th at 1 p.m. at Souvlaki Authentique. And a special thanks and special hello to Costa and Terry. Very much look forward to meeting the entire staff and meeting everyone who watches the Sick Podcast who decides to come down for lunch that day. I look forward to seeing all of you. Hopefully the sun is going to cooperate. And if so, I'm going to take the Vespa for a spin because it's like a beautiful ride from my home in beautiful Ville La Salle. All right. I want to bring up a hockey DB of a player in particular, which might surprise you a little bit today. And he plays for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Do we have it? Here we go. Tanner Jeannot. Why am I talking about Tanner Jeannot? I'm going to tell you why I'm talking about Tanner Jeannot. I brought up his name earlier today on radio. And by the way, for the most part, I got absolutely obliterated by a bunch of people who I think didn't understand what I was trying to say. But that's okay. I'm not always very, very clear. The Tampa Bay Lightning are going to try and get Steven Stamkos signed. And because of that, there's talk out of Tampa, whether it's true or not, but there's talk out of Tampa that guys like Tanner Jeannot and Anthony Cirelli could be on the move. Anthony Cirelli, I think, makes like about $6.3 million for the next 6 years. It's a lot of money for a second-line centerman who probably would be a third-line centerman on some teams. And Tanner Jeannot makes about $2.665 million, which is also a lot of money for a fourth-line player. But Jeannot's deal is up at the end of this year, and he's going to end up being an unrestricted free agent. I know he came off 14 points in 55 games, but he is a couple of years removed from a season of 24 goals and 17 assists. So, you know, the 21-22 season, he picked up 24 goals, 17 assists, 41 points, 130 penalty minutes. He's still very young at 26 years old. He's 6'2". He's about 225 pounds. Now, the Lightning gave up a first round. They gave up Cal Foote and 5 draft picks for him, which was way too much. Okay, way too much. And I don't suggest the Canadiens give up nowhere close to that. Nor do I think it would be easy to have him, considering the Tampa Bay's and Montreal's division. But if the Canadiens could, you know, give up a couple of draft picks, and that'll be it for Tanner Jeannot, this is a player that I think is worth going after. Why? Because he's something the Canadiens don't have a lot of. Big body, character, gritty, goes in the corners, will fight anybody, will finish his checks. The Canadiens need more players like that. And by the way, yes, I know, like today I got inundated with messages saying that the Canadiens need 2 talented wingers on the second line. Duh! I know. But it doesn't mean that they don't need a guy like Jeannot just because they need that, okay? So I wouldn't give up the farm for him. Especially since he's going to be UFA at the end of the year, and chances are you might not bring him back, but you could always trade him before the trade deadline if you find out his salary demands are too high. And by the way, it doesn't necessarily have to be him, but a player in that mold. Like, for example, Duhaime. I really like Duhaime that Colorado picked up at the deadline too. I really like Brazeau, who plays for the Brewed. Like, there's just big body players or players that they play with a ton of energy. Not so sure where you stand on this, but, you know, I said to George Larac, I said, well, you know, Jeannot. And he said, well, you have Pizzetta. And I said, well, Jeannot's an upgrade on Pizzetta. And he said, well, not really. He only picked up a couple of points more, and he was more of a minus player than Pizzetta. Plus, he played on a team that had more talent. And I said, you're right. He played on a team that had more talent. That's why he's on the 4th line. There's some players that wouldn't even be able to crack the Tampa Bay Lightning roster because, of course, they have so many talented players at the forward position, like Paul, like Cirelli, like Kucherov, like Braden Point, like Steven Stamkos. List goes on and on. Anyway, what do you think of him? You like him?
Yeah. I don't, you know, I mean, in part it's because it cost him so much that he's regarded, I think, poorly by people because they first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and a former first-round pick for him.
Good point.
So he's frowned upon, right? He's overrated or whatever, and that's fine.
Correct.
But yeah, I mean, will Brisebois bite the bullet and admit? Like, it's kind of tough to 3 years after giving up all that to turn around and trade him for, like, what would it cost? Like, I wouldn't.
But don't forget, Grant. Don't forget, he gave up, like you just said, 5 picks for him, right? He'd like to recuperate some of those back. If there's a team that has a bunch of picks, it's the case. And I'm not saying to give up a first or a second for Jeannot, especially if you might lose him. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying, you know, like, if you could put together a package of picks and whatever, like, I would. I
mean, Montreal has too many picks.
Yeah.
They've made too many picks. They've got to sign contracts. They've got a bunch of prospects coming. Like, I don't see them using all their picks in the upcoming draft. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to do something. Will it be involved? I think it might involve trading the Winnipeg pick and a defenseman to get a forward. But
that makes sense.
I wouldn't give up the 25th pick and Struble for Tanner Jeannot. You know, I wouldn't.
No. And neither would I.
No.
And by the way, I bet you Struble would turn out to be a really good defenseman with the Tampa Bay Lightning for the next decade.
Yeah. They got back McDonough too, eh? Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
That was kind of funny. It was Montreal tie there too, but
McDonough's good. He's a good defenseman, stable, reliable.
Jeannot's, I think I love Pizzetta, but I'm with you, Tony, where he's maybe he's bigger and a little tougher, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he's one of the heavyweights of the league. I mean, Pez will drop him with anybody, but will he win the fight? You know,
he'll drop him with anybody, but I mean, he's got a certain weight class, right? I mean, Tanner Jeannot, he looked really good in a fight versus Arbor Jacka, if you recall. I mean, I said to George Larac earlier today that the Jeannot got the decision, and Larac said to me, well, Jack Eye slipped on a stick or whatever it is. Well, call it whatever you wanted. I mean, Jeannot got the decision, you know?
No, he's tough kid.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, but Montreal already has too many contracts. Like, they'd have to get rid of, I don't know, Anderson or, well, you know, Gallagher or somebody else. Like, they've got too many veterans as it is going into the year.
Yeah.
I think if they pick someone up, they're going to have enough guys. Like, if they pick up a top 6 guy, Tony, you're going to have Anderson on their fourth line. You're going to have maybe Gallagher on your fourth line. So where's this, you know, I don't know how you do it salary-wise.
Yeah.
In that regard. So I think they're going to have to deal one of the vets, but who's going to pick up? You know?
Yeah.
Like, it certainly won't be Tampa taking back Anderson or whatever, because they're trying to free up space so they can sign Stamkos. So
they're all abbreviated Sick Podcast shows, of course, during the playoffs. So we'll end it on this last note. Renaud Lavoie tweeting out earlier today, if we can read it. Les recrues des Canadiens de Montréal n'iront pas à Buffalo cette année pour y affronter celles d'autres équipes de la Ligue nationale. So Montreal Canadiens rookies will not go to Buffalo this year to play other rookies from other teams.
Yay.
And is that it, or is there something else coming?
That's great.
That's all there is. Okay, so I think they're actually staying in Montreal, and they'll have a couple in Montreal. Is that it? Okay, hold on a second. Yeah, that's it. All right. Okay, so they're not going to Buffalo. That's it. But
finally,
right.
Everything's been in Buffalo. The combine, they had a draft, they had this rookie tournament. Tired of it. That's a long trip.
Yeah.
Buffalo. So Montreal, I'll get down. I'll get down for that, Tony. Maybe we can do a special. Sick podcast.
With pleasure. With pleasure. I love the shirt once again. Thanks for joining me. Wow, look at that shirt. The colors look exactly the same as they look on my wall. Amazing shirt, actually. Wow, you're can I see him or her? Is that your dog? Let me see. Is she there? You there?
Yeah. Just a sec.
Yeah.
Can you grab? Oh no, he got grabbed. He got grabbed and taken upstairs.
Okay. You know what? Too bad, because I'm sure all of our sick army and sick community watching would have loved to have. What kind of dog is that?
Well, maybe you can bring him over here.
Yeah. Let's bring him over.
Sure. It's a Yorkie.
Love Yorkies.
Got, 2 Yorkies and a.
I love Yorkies. Oh, wow.
That's Luca.
What a beautiful dog.
Yeah. Oh, he's beautiful. All right. And
Wow.
here's the other one.
My name is Luca. I live on the 2nd floor. I live upstairs.
And that's
Wow.
Teddy.
And that's another Yorkie. Is that right?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Teddy's 14 now.
14.
We thought we were losing him a few months back, and false alarm.
Good. God bless Teddy. God bless
He didn't
Teddy.
have cancer after all, and
Wow.
he's a tough cookie.
Good for him. We wish him another 14 more. All right, which is that's pretty old in terms of dog years, right? I would imagine. But anyway, God bless. I love Yorkies, by the way. 2 beautiful dogs. All right, okay. Thanks so much for doing this. We'll talk. I'm sure everyone's happy they got to see your dogs now. Cheers. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, there you have it. He's Grant McCagg of Recruits and Recruits.ca. And of course, he is the Recruits Draftcast podcast, along with Shane Gaumont, who right now is at Master Control, to tell you the truth. Special thanks to Energy Transportation Group. Special thanks to Bittt Tibi. Special thanks to Playground. Special thanks to Accent Insurance Solutions. And this Thursday at 1 p.m., I will be at Souvlaki Authentique at 1050 Rue Notre Dame in Lachine, 1 p.m. Come down and watch the Sick Podcast with me, Tony Marinaro, as Eric Engels will join me of Sportsnet at sportsnet.ca. And then, you know what? We'll do it there live. And then we'll upload it later on at night, and you'll be able to watch it at 10 p.m. So we'll see you then. In the meantime, tomorrow night, I'll be back. Same time, same place for Gomo and Master Control. I'm Marinaro. Have a good night.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. La Vida TB, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.